The CEO of the Kagiso Trust, Mankodi Moitse, joins us now to give us another perspective of Archbishop Desmond Tutu's contribution. Thank you very, very much indeed for joining us, and welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, and good evening to everyone.
A very sad day for South Africa, and many people will remember something about him that touched them. And I just wonder, what's that for you today?
Firstly, let me take the opportunity on behalf of Kagiso Trust to express our condolences to Mama Leah, to the family, to the beneficiaries of Kagiso Trust who have been affected or impacted by the life of the Archbishop. And I think for us, it's a sad moment, yet at the same time, there is a sense of that greatness lived amongst us. Mm-hmm. And he left us really with the legacy that it is possible to change, it is possible to be brave, and it is possible to be courageous. So we are sad, and at the same time, we celebrate his life.
You did an interesting project a few years ago. You came out with a book and you asked citizens to contribute by sharing their thoughts about the Archbishop. And I just wonder, perhaps today we can look back at what some of the people wrote in that book and what did they feel and think about the Archbishop.
It's really amazing that when we did that exercise, it was actually in 2015, and we published it, I think, early 2016. And the number of people of all ages that wrote to us and expressed their gratitude to the life of the Archbishop. Many people expressed how they were encouraged to be bold. There were some who came up with expressing how they felt it's important that we embrace everyone and also be true at all times. Some young people came in to say they feel that no matter how much life could be dark, there's always a reason why we should be honest and truthful. That's what they've taken from him. And there were others who came in to say that he was a knowledgeable person, a wise person, yet loving and being able to associate with the people. And I think as Kagiso Trust, we saw this along the life that we shared with him. You know, Archbishop was instrumental to setting up Kagiso Trust. And I think if you think about it, that this was done in the 1980s, right at the time when the country was in a very, very difficult state. He was one of the people, together with Buntate Max Coleman, Buntate Bears Nudie, Buntate Chikani, who went to the European Union at that time to negotiate that we need to set up an organization that will have funds that will be able to support South Africans that are marginalized. And at that time, that was not a common thing. They've set up, as we know, Kagiso Trust today, it's one of the big developmental organizations in Africa. And I must say, one of the touching things for me is at the time when they were founding trustees, they were not even earning a cent. There was nothing like we earn board fees. They sat in these meetings, traveled all over, made sacrifices so that we can have organizations like Kagiso Trust. And we are really, really humbled that we have had this as part of our foundation. And one of the things that I thought is important to remember when we remember the Archbishop is that Kagiso Trust, for example, to date, it owns an investment company. It was never easy to form that investment company. The Archbishop was one of those people who was concerned that if you set up an investment company, are you ever going to deviate from the principle, the ethics of money? How are you going to make sure that as a trust, you don't compromise the ethics of money? And the management had to convince him that the work of the trust will never be secondary to the work of generating the money to support the trust. So I think from many young people who wrote their letters, notes in 2015, they were really taking from a leader that says, we can be ethical, we can include everyone, we can care about the poor, and we can make sure that our growth as a country does not leave anyone behind.
As prominent as he became, and he's sat at platforms that were quite significant in stature, one gets a sense that he always understood the plight of those at the very grassroots and felt their struggles and their pains.
I mean, absolutely. If you look at the kind of programs that were started as a trustee, these are the programs that they are still continue today, where it will take us to places that normally, naturally, one wouldn't want to go there. It's inconvenient. It's not places that most of us or it's not places that are visible to most of us all the time. And I think you could see that the values and the founding character of the organization that they've created was to say, let help go to those who need it, no matter how uncomfortable it is. And I think that's that association to say, let's include everyone. I remember one of his videos where he raises his hands up high and say, we are all free. I mean, just that expression that this is about all. It's not about a few. It's about all being true to the fact that we need to be inclusive. Justice is for all and equality is for all. So I think we would remember him for those values and the ethics that he held very dear.
All right, and perhaps a final thought, and it's a difficult one because you can't pin one thing on him. He did so much in so many different areas. But what do you think will be his greatest legacy?
That let's be brave. Let's question ourselves. Let's stop and reflect and be brave to say, if we have taken a wrong course, even when we started right, if there are things that have made us to move away from the right course of helping those that cannot help ourselves, let's be brave to confront ourselves and move back to what matters. I think he was able to ask hard questions, and he asked hard questions to even people that seemed to have answers, but he always wanted to be sure. Do you think you are correct in making the decisions that you are making? Who are you making this call for? Is it for everyone to be inclusive? And that, I think, is what we will take as Kagiso Trust. And I think he would like the whole nation to also embrace that attitude. Let's go back and be challenged to live for the ideals that he lived for, that they formed the kinds of Kagiso Trust for.
Mankodi, Moitse, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so, so much indeed for giving us your time this evening and sharing these profound memories and thoughts about the late Arch. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, that's Mankodi Moitse from the Kagiso Trust talking to us about Archbishop Desmond Emeritus, Desmond Tutu, talking about his contribution over time, over a lifetime in many areas, but mostly and always in service of the people. As I said, we're waiting now for the President of the country. He's expected to be addressing us shortly, and no doubt he will be paying some tribute to Archbishop Emeritus Desmond Tutu, who died earlier this morning. And he may speak about something else, we're not sure, but we are on standby waiting for that. So stay with us.